Good afternoon. This is John Gregory Presco, and today's my birthday, my natal birthday. 77 years ago, I was born on October 8th, 1946. I'm 73 years of age. All right. We have a lot to cover today, and I'm going live because of that. So let me begin about 10 minutes past 12 midnight. I'm accusing Broadway Al of killing my friend Keith Purvis and getting rid of his body somehow. And I now suspect he was put in a trunk and might be in Christine's storage that she rents, where she says she's got her old records in there. And Broadway Al, he was owned a famous record store in the Village with Beaker Bob. And this is so unbelievable. I think this is going to be the most unbelievable live YouTube I've ever made. So I want to cover this live so you can look at me and say, God, is that guy crazy? Is he telling the truth? Is he a liar? Is he a hallucinator? Is he after money? Is power or whatever? So for the benefit of one or two friends that I still have left from the old group that used to live together over on 13th Street in Oakland with a loading zone, they might be interested in listening to what I have to say and studying whether this is real or not. About 3 months ago, Christine told me that these people were going to drop off this trunk that belonged to her that Broadway Al was storing in the basement of this house. And they were going to bring it down and drop it off in Pennsylvania, in Christine's house, Christine Wandell's house in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And I said, oh, wow, I want to be there. Would you please get your roommate, Stephen King, to videotape and take pictures as you open that? She says there's a lock on there and they need a bolt cutters to cut the lock off and open the trunk. And I said, yeah, would you please film that? And a month goes by, and Christine's being vague. I thought she said she did open the trunk. But then when I tried to clarify, she said, no, I haven't opened it yet. But now, as of last night, about 1:20 in the morning, she's saying very possibly there's two trunks. So this is why I'm going live, because it's going to be hard to describe this, and it would take a long time to describe what's going on with the written word. I'm going to have to really concentrate to have it make any sense to you, because right now it doesn't make any sense. And she's been lying, obviously a liar. And I called her a liar. I said, you are a damn liar. Don't you ever call me a liar. Yes, and you're lying. Liar, liar, liar. It's about midnight, I'm screaming at her, you're a liar. You're lying. So this whole post that I wanted to post under my autobiography, Capturing Beauty, It sounds like the first 48 hours. And I really felt like I was a detective on one of those shows, the first 48 hours. And you see these interviews, and they talk about the interviews, and they talk about teaming up, and there's the person accused of murder sitting in this interrogation room, and and they enter, and one sits here, one sits there, and either one on one, and then you see the camera back, looking through the mirror window or whatever. Oh yeah, he's lying there. We caught him. Yeah, Joe is really onto him now, and it's just what it was like. Because every time I catch Christine in live, I wouldn't come out and say it, right? Because I didn't want to end the interview. I finally I had it. I saw my mother said, "The guy said, you're lying. You're a liar. I hate you." It's you got to resist that because you want more information and more, and the more information she gave me, the more I tripped her up with following questions. And oh no, I didn't say that. I meant it was over here with these people, and then it got over here. Really, it did. So who were those people again? Oh, did I say people? Oh, I meant I don't know. I meant something else besides people. Really, like what? And this is what was going on with this trunk. I said, well, how did it get there? Oh, I don't know. Well, I mean, did someone drive it? Was it shipped? So, like saying, I don't know how it got there, it wasn't enough for me, right? We were old friends and lovers back in 1967. In fact, she was my first woman I had sexual intercourse with, and that's why I'm bound to this woman. Plus, we had these mutual friends and family, so she was like a member of the family, this core of friends. So it's to question her validity is like, oh, you hate the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the divine summer of love, and you are a traitor. Well, it's gone. But this might be the last breath because Broadway Al is an institution, for the music people of the Greenwich Village and the beach, the bohemians and the hippies. His his record album store was like a hangout for even the old hippies coming there. Oh gosh, Al and Beaker Bob. I mean, this is, like going, Alice in Wonderland, going back to my youth and summer love, and never. I hope you never close. Okay, there we go. Let's start with that. Broadway Al, and there's a video of that post, and Beaker Bob had to close that store, and I forget the name of it, but it'll appear on the my post. What this is. There's a video that's very interesting. So, Broadway House was a famous village guy. And he was close to the Christine and her daughter. And in fact, he was Julie's godfather. Julie is Christine Wandel's daughter. And I didn't really want to mention her name, but there it is. The truth will set you free. So when she said that this trunk was going to be returned to her from upstate New York, I wondered how it got up there. Christine doesn't have a car. She hasn't driven in many years. I don't think she's driven since she's lived in New York for 50 years or something like that. So how did the trunk you know, get up there. They belong to her. Now, and I asked her, I said, Christine, is this the trunk that you told me your mother gave you to pack your things in and get out of the Hancock Street? Yeah, that was the trunk. So this trunk contains things that you grew up with in the Hancock house. Oh, yes, yes. I went there and I confronted my mother about them cheating me out of my birthright, my heritage. There was uh, there was no probate for my father when he died, and I think my brother and sister and my mother stole my money. I should have gotten. I should have got that house. The house belongs to me. And she keeps going on and on about that for many years, and so I can't remember when I first heard about this trunk. But it was, I think, 3 months ago. But when she says they're sending me this trunk to her, I put that together, you know, that the same trunk. And she says, yes, it is. And I said, well, how would, when you open it, I would like your roommate, Stephen King, to film this because Christine doesn't know how to use a simple phone device to do anything. She can't text or take photographs. She's very backward and isolated from a lot of things. And so I started thinking, because she told me that her and Keith were riding in his camper going north, and at a rest stop, there was an altercation with a fellow camper in the rest stop. I think they was going to stay overnight, maybe, but Christine said Keith was playing his radio real loud, and someone came over and told him to turn it down. And he didn't want to. There was some kind of commotion going on there. And I believe I heard that the plan was for them to go up to New Hampshire or Maine or something to look for a place to live. And they would live in the camper until that happened. But then Christine was saying, I couldn't live in that camper. It was too cramped and small. You couldn't do it. Okay, well, there's the idea of them living together up north somewhere, but they are up north. She finally admitted that they were driving around Boston because your daughter Julie says, yeah, she met Keith, and she actually thought it was Keith, and we started exchanging texts over her mother ending up in the hospital. And she says, yeah, I think it was 97 that I met Keith, and he had this camper. Okay, she denied that she ever saw a camper. There was no camper. She said Keith wasn't there. I said, Christine, you told me you were up in there. No, I didn't. You were mistaken. I never saw that camper. I was never in that camper. Well, last night, around 10 o'clock, she admits, maybe earlier, that she was in the camper and they're driving around Boston. And I go, there, boom, there it is. So I present this theory to her last night because I said, Christine, I mean, this is a real mystery how your trunk that you got out of your house on Beacon Hill got up to upstate New York and into the care of Broadway Al, the famous record guy, Julie's godfather. This trunk that you got out of your mother gave you, you put your things in here and get out, right? So that trunk ended up with Big Al, Broadway Al. And I'm like going, well, how come you didn't take it home? if there's such of a battle for your possessions, and this is your only heirloom. I mean, won't you, when you left your mother's house, take that trunk home and open it and see what's in there? I know Al had it. Yeah, Al had it, but why? How? I don't know. So I had to start putting a theory together. And I said, here's a theory, Christine. I've been thinking about this for a couple months. That when you went to Boston, Keith was with you. And you both went to the house on Hancock Street. And Keith might have waited in the camper parked on Hancock while you went in there and confronted your family about cheating out of your heritage, and they went and grabbed this trunk, empty. Said, "Here, put your belongings in here and get out." And then she said, "And don't get a lawyer." She said that's what they told her. She repeated, "Don't get a lawyer." So I had to feel her out to say, "Well, did Keith come in the house?" No. He wasn't even in Boston. Yeah, you just said he was in Boston. She's doing these. It says zero in. She keeps putting all these blocks and changing the story. And this is like I say, the first 48 hours. So let me go back to this theory. So you leave, maybe Keith helped her get the trunk and put it in his camper, and off they went. And she never denied the story of being at the, well, she did, but then now she's not, being at this rest stop and Keith turning up the radio. That now is a permanent thing in her selective memory thing. And there is some forgetfulness, but I'm not going to get into that because I think she's got suffering from psychological damage due to this incident of Keith disappearing off the face of the earth. And that's what I'm looking at. I said, this is the last real evidence of what happened to Keith. So I talked about how Keith drove really crazy with his camper, and his mother wouldn't get in his camper because he drove it like crazy. I told her he came up and rescued me from this guy that was on America's Most Wanted, that beat up Marilyn, raped her, and called me up, and he threatened my life. And him and this other guy came over, and so I called it Keith, and came up there, drove up from Oakland to Springfield, Oregon, and got me out of there. We put my stuff in his camper. And going back to Oakland, he drove like a madman. I said, "This is it," from the panic to the fire, from one madman to another. And it started snowing over there on the pass, and people were pulling over to put chains on their tire. Keith, you pull over, you got chains? Yeah, but I don't need them. And he steps on it. I kid you not. And you can feel the camper just like losing traction. And he's, he's a mad Englishman. I kid you not. I'm just looking at him. I said, "You're going to kill us, aren't you? And this is it." Okay, it's all illusion. According to these three psychics, I already died and I came back. I can live with it. Dying right here. So back to the theory. I say, so you leave Boston, you head up north, and Keith's driving crazy. Maybe he wasn't driving so crazy from New York to Boston, but Boston onward, he's really scaring you. And then you pull in this rest stop and you go, I can't take any more of this. I'm not getting back in that camper there. You're scaring the holy bejesus out of me. Won't you, God's name, slow down? Ah, no, not me. You don't understand. I'm the British Jesus of rock and roll. This is a series, folks. It really is. A dead man and a dead friend in the trunk. And because Tim O'Connor's been asking about him, he's the hitchhiking poet living in his father's boat in Amsterdam. And then there's Peter Shapiro, the head lead guitarist of the Loading Zone, and the Marbles that played the acid test. He's been asking about where Keith is. And so, I was trying to, find out what year this happened. And it looks like it was 97. I said, because it's been that long. And the other thing is, I can't remember when I talked to Keith in England. If it was after the road trip to hell, then this theory doesn't work. But I don't think it was, because I don't recall talking to Keith after 96 when I returned to Oregon, lived with Michael Dundon out near Bend, and then I was homeless for a couple months in 96, and then they got a place. I went to Royal Avenue Shelter for a couple months, lived there, and they got me into a halfway house on Kincaid, and then finally into a quad, and then finally to an apartment on 19th. So I don't recall talking to Keith in England. I believe I was in Oakland when I did that. So I think he came back from England, and bought that camper. I know it was parked in the Wanda Harkins driveway for a while until Michael Harkins threw him out because he was acting weird over chicken being cut on a breadboard along with his food. He was an avid vegetarian, and he's like yelling at Wanda Harkins, and Michael just, you know what? Get out of here. You are loopy. And Keith was acting more and more crazy. He'd taken a big bag of designer drugs, downed them, and Brian came down to LA to get me. He says, well, we've lost Keith. I don't have a brother anymore. He's lost his mind. And so his mental condition kept deteriorating. And Christine didn't know that. See, so I got two people saying that Keith was in New York. Julie said she met him, while living with Christine on Carmine Street. So he was there in New York with his camper. And I said, how'd the camper get there, Christine? Well, I guess he drove across country. Really? You think he did that? I mean, I'm not trying to be really, facetious, but she really does not want to give me any hard facts. She wants to play like, oh, I got carpal tunnel syndrome and blah, blah, blah. They threw her out of the hospital, and I think they threw her out because she's a damn witch. See, this woman's just not crazy. She's a Beacon Hill witch. I'm serious, folks, and we'll get into that maybe another tape. Well, I just did. I touched upon it because, I saved her life. She finally admitted that last night. She told her you were denying it while you were in the hospital. You were being rude and vague, and said I wasn't a blue blood, and we can't live together in Beacon Hill. I'm not a blue blood like her. She says, well, I was kind of out of it. In the hospital, they give you these drugs, and they do to keep you calm. So, have I lost you on my theory? On the road to my theory. So, Christine says, I'm not going any further with you. We're not going up to New Hampshire or Maine to look for a place. We're not going to live together. You are a crazy man. I just, when she first told me about the radio incident, she said this guy was furious and Keith was acting crazy. She said she thought there was going to be a fight. So when I first heard about the rest stop incident, Christine said I was really afraid of Keith after that. See, that was the original story that she told me, I don't know, 20 years ago, around 1998 or something like that. And then I think, gosh, when did she first tell me Keith's missing? Oh, yeah, she said, Keith's been missing. He sent me this paper umbrella from Thailand. That's the last I've heard of him. She goes, have you seen him? No. I said, was there a letter or anything with the paper umbrella? She said, no. I said, where's the paper umbrella? I got it here in my apartment. And I said, that's odd. So he just shipped this paper umbrella. No note saying, hey, be good. I still love you. Your old friend Keith. So that's really the last time. And I've repeated that story, I think, to Peter and Tim O'Connor. That's what Christine said. He was in Thailand. And they didn't really push that. And I wish they had I really look at how much responsibility was put on my shoulders because, one, I'm sober. Two, I don't take drugs. I don't hallucinate, like I used to. I've been in therapy, so I can organize my thoughts. So everybody, Tim O'Connor, Peter, I accepted that Keith had vanished. So, in Thailand, I came up with a theory that he went into Cambodia to look for the great marijuana goddess of Cambodia, and these guerrillas shot him. Because I'd seen something on the news where they're shooting anybody they didn't recognize, and you had to be close family or you're dead. So, here comes Keith, Johnny Appleseed, looking for the green goddess marijuana plant, and they said, oh, bam, and he's dead. And now I got really a better theory that it's unbelievable. So I asked for the phone number of Anita and Jan, who's a guy, and they're good friends of Broadway Al. In fact, they were living together. And I think they invited Broadway Al to come live with them in upstate New York. In the house, he got sick, and the record store closed. So Broadway Al's living with Jan and Anita, the two people that brought down the trunk to Christine. They said, Broadway Al has died. We know this trunk belongs to you, and we want to return it. If someone dies, especially if they're semi-famous, you want to clean up, the loose ends and stuff. So they brought the trunk down, or so Christine says. But when I asked for the phone number, she said, I can't find my notepad. I said, well, look for it, please. Yeah, maybe another time. No. Yeah. Well, when do you want them to talk to them for? Well, because you're being vague and you say you have memory loss, something happened to you in the hospital or before you went in the hospital and you can't remember things. So it'd be nice to, call them up and say, hey, I'm an old friend of Christine and Peter's, and Christine has some memory loss here, and I'm would like to find out uh, more about this trunk. And so then she says, I'm trying to pin down Al, see, and she's trying to put him in the background. I said, Christine, do you see what you're doing? You're trying to disappear Al from the whole conversation we've been having for 4 hours. I said, I'm not going to let you get away with that. Well, Al did bring me the truck, but we put it in my locker, a couple blocks away here in New York. I said, what? What? The trunk that Al's friend brought them up upstate New York and dropped off in Wilkes-Barre at your house there was in your locker, your trunk? And for some reason, Al took it out of your locker, took it up to upstate New York, and then he died, and his friends bring it back down. And she got angry. So I think I said, you are lying. You are lying. And I did. I said, I think Broadway Al murdered Keith and put him in a trunk. And I actually mentioned it with Peter on this thing we're doing, this texting story. And he really turned on me after I said that. So he very possibly could have know what happened to Keith. This is amazing. When you put all the texting between me and Peter Shapiro, and then how it changed when I put Keith next to him, and very possibly he's in the trunk of the Christine's storage. See, that he turned on me. And now Christine's saying that the trunk that she got from her mother, in Boston, where Keith took her in his camper, is in her locker, that she's paying $187 a month. And I brought it up to Julie. I said, we got to get that closed before she gets out of the hospital, to use the $187 for hire someone to come in once or twice a week or something. Food, we're going to have to order food out for her. She can hardly walk. And I was really upset at Christine. Why did they bring you out of the hospital in an ambulance, take you home, put you back in your home, and you can't even hardly walk better than you did when I called 911? I don't know. That's a good question. She says, yeah, it's a damn good question. So I'm zeroing in on this trunk. So I say, here's what I think happened. You refused to go anywhere with Keith, and you call up Al. Because he's really the only friend you got. He's the godfather of your daughter, and I don't know if he's living in upstate New York at that time or not. But it's a couple-hour drive, so he drives up there. No, I think he was living up there. See, I got to figure. Well, this is a theory I had. It's the only thing I got to go. The only way it figures out is that Christine. Let me take some water. Jesus. So Christine further refuses to go anywhere with Keith because he's scared the hell out of her. That sounds maybe right. So she calls up Al. He comes to the rest stop, confronts Keith, who doesn't maybe want to give up Christine's stuff. She's got her stuff in the trailer, but he gets it out, gets the trunk, and puts the trunk in his car, puts Christine in the passenger seat, and takes off to upstate New York with the trunk in the car. I said, does that sound like a viable theory about how the trunk that was at your mother's house got up to upstate New York, to where years later, Anita and Jan bring it to you and put it in your house. There it is. There it is. Okay. So she moves the trunk into her space, but she doesn't want me talking to Jan and Anita. Just, she's trying to get them out of the picture. She's saying Broadway Al's the nicest, gentlest. She never hurt anybody. Because now, with the more elusive, I said, did Broadway Al and Keith get into a fight? That's what the commotion was. Al had to fight Keith. So I asked her, she said it was a small trunk. I said, what do you mean small trunk? What size is that trunk? And she says, about 3 feet by 4 feet. I was flabbergasted. And now she's already telling me, because of my questioning, that she doesn't want me to come to Wilkes-Barre at the house when she opens that trunk. She says it would be a very private thing. I want total privacy when I open that trunk. I said, no, you had agreement that I was going to, you even come there. Peter and I have been talking about me coming there, finishing the roof job story, and that would be the great ending of our story, the opening of this trunk. And you agreed that I'm going to be writing a short story about your trip to Grand Canyon. And now, you said I can work on your biography, and that would be the end, the opening of the trunk. And there's your, open the trunk, and there's your old things, maybe an old teddy bear, maybe photographs from your childhood and stuff that you're finally getting, back after your father died in 1971 or something like that. I want to be totally alone when I open that trunk. What for? I'd be very emotional. I said, well, that's good. I don't know if you noticed this, but when you read a book, it's full of emotions and tears. I'd be crying. I said, that's good. Tears are good, for selling this. I mean, you do want to make money, right? We'll go 50-50 on the proceeds for these books and stories. And I said, tears are good. People want that, It sells books and stuff. Well, no. And in fact, I don't think I want you to write about me. And I said, really? I said, I'm sorry, woman, we got a verbal agreement. Well, we don't have a verbal agreement. I said, you don't get to say that, that make a verbal agreement, and then you can go poof, like Trump, oh, these documents are, non-top secret, poof. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do it to me. And I said, I have a right to find out what happened to my friend Keith that I've known since he was 16. He dated my sister, and he's my good friend. We lived in New York. I said, I'm on a real lead as to what happened to him. And I said, you're not getting in my way in any shape or form. I will get to the bottom of this. Because all of a sudden, and she even said, well, what are you saying? That I opened the trunk and there's old rancid body of Keith? And I said, yeah, that works. Because, now I'm looking at somehow the other thing is that Keith was staying with Christine and he didn't want to leave. And she called up Big Al. They get into a fight and Keith gets killed. And they put him in the trunk and they put him in the storage that she'd been paying $187 a month when she gets SSI for a very long time. So is there another trunk in the storage? And another trunk that ended up upstate New York that was brought down. It's in Wilkes-Barre. She got smaller trunk. They can't see her lifting this big old trunk out of her parents' mother's house, see, unless she had help. So that's where we are. And Broadway Al involved. He's going, what? You know, he's too being raised by someone rang? Someone remembers me? Huh? You know, and there's Keith, you open the trunk and, here I am, the Asset Messiah, freed at last, the genie from Britain, and, the LSD guru, pops out of the trunk, so, so here it is, my birthday. And I'm spending all this time talking about the death day of Keith because I said, there's never been any closure on this. If we knew what happened to him, we could, have a wake, memorial. We'd have grief, we'd cry tears, and that would be it. And we'd go on. But I said, Christine, this is about the big void in us that's destroying us. Yeah, I think you're right. Well, just add the idea that maybe Christine stabbed Keith while he's sleeping because he's taken her hostage in this small little apartment. And then she calls up Broadway Al. I got a dead body in my apartment. What? You killed that crazy man that was acting really weird when I saw him? Yeah, I did. I had to. So anything goes. See, the mad world, and this whole thing, and Hamas invading Israel, it's going to destroy the fiber of reality. Just when we don't need that, because the fiber of reality is already very fragile due to the right-wing Christians, dominionists, trying to turn the Republican Party into a church, which they did, and now they try to destroy the Democrats, which they almost did, and democracy, and replace it with the kingdom of Jesus, without the Asset Messiah. All right. How long is this? I'm going to end this. Happy birthday to me. You be careful out there. I'm going to go post on my death experience and the cosmic stars. I was born during the 1946 Draconoid star shower. There are 10,000 stars an hour coming down in Oakland. The nurses wanted my mother to go to the window to see it, but she was too spent having me. So here I am. The prophet, the guy who really predicted the war, invasion of Hamas. The day before, I'm at the library in the Jewish section, see, the wall of words, the wailing wall of words, and the other prophecies. So I got to put that together because there's $1 billion bonus for anyone who can prove that they're a real prophet. No, I'm only kidding you. You get hung up and crucified, hung at the neck, drawn a quarter. But if you're a real, but if you're a false prophet, you can make some good money. Okay, take care out there.